Okay, so a lot of things have changed with the design for our Eiger-3 camper, and I thought it'd be worth updating this build phasing video, showing it from the side, and also because we've mastered some skills related to animation in SketchUp that I think are worth kind of looking at from this 2D view. Just I think it makes it kind of interesting, kind of gives you a different perspective on things. So so here it goes. So last time I recorded this, it was over 40 minutes, so we're going to try and do this a little bit shorter, and I am going to try and be a little less long-winded. We are starting with the subfloor. That's really the first thing we're going to do in the van. Probably after we do lizard skin. So we'll do the lizard skin sound insulation. And after that, we'll head off to Colorado and put in the AVC rig insulated floor. And it is going to be a slightly custom version of what they normally do, because we have a cubby that's kind of in the forward end of the slider opening as opposed to the rear end of the slider opening, and that requires some additional work on their part in order to customize a little bit, but no big deal. And it's only one of the panels that has to be customized, so the other two are fine. Okay, so that's the first thing we're going to do. After the subfloor is in, then we will put down some vinyl flooring, finished floor, some sort of sheet vinyl floor, not sure which yet. So yeah, so one of the first things we're going to put in the van is something to take care of the call of nature. We're going to put a Thetford porta potty in there, and it's not going to be suspended in space like this drawing shows it. We're actually going to put it inside an enclosure, a aluminum extrusion enclosure, which is going to close it off on three sides. It will be open on one, and it will have a cushion top, board cushion top. You remove the board cushion, use the porta potty, put it back, and the porta potty goes away. So that ottoman will be really nice for getting your legs up and getting a little bit more comfortable in the van, in addition to hiding the porta potty. The next thing we're going to be doing is putting the fridge in, and also a trash can. They kind of work hand in hand, because we're actually using part of the tie down system for the fridge to actually hold the trash can in place so it doesn't go flying around the van. But underneath the fridge, and we're using an Iceco 60 liter, underneath the fridge is a little cabinet that we're calling the fridge riser. And not only does it raise the fridge up so it's easier to get inside of it, but it also encloses the Webasto airtop heater, and that's going to be drawing fuel from the vehicle fuel tank. And next to that is a shoe cubby, which will have a little light hidden up here with a red component, so we can leave that red on and have that be a night light at night. We're using a continuous strap with cinched down, pretty standard actually for holding fridges down, but we are going to do some custom brackets here to hold that in place, and we're actually using the other bracket to hold the trash can. I'm not showing it because it's it's behind the ottoman from this view. Okay, so what's next? So this thing that we're calling the bench bed, and it's a rock and roll bed. Part of it is fixed, has a fixed frame, and this cushion is fixed. It sits on a frame that's fixed, but there's a dynamic component to it that actually is meant to move, and part of it's going to be pinned at the top to furniture into the van walls. But when you unpin it and pull it out, there's a slide point that moves along this T-slot that's part of the fixed frame, and it can slide out. And let me show how that works. So it's pretty simple. You just slide it out, and while you're sliding it out, the back actually swings down, and there'll be, you can see just here, there's a little part of the frame here. It's a little component that's actually going to be attached to the frame. That's going to keep this back part from going down. So it can only go to flat and no, or perfectly horizontal and no further. So let's rotate that and show what that looks like. Okay, so these cushions are going to be 4-inch foam, Dacron wrap foam, probably with a sunbrella fabric, and they're going to be attached to the Baltic birch behind it with Velcro. And because of the nature of this, there's going to be a gap. So this thing is our gap filler cushion, which done the same way, same fabric, and basically what that does is just move it, and it stores loose kind of behind the back of the bench, and then when you need it for sleeping, you stuff it into this gap, and that kind of finishes the bed, makes it ready for sleeping. So let's just kind of show what that looks like. Okay, so not my girlfriend, but simulated girlfriend. And just to kind of show a figure sleeping on this to give you an idea of what that looks like, there's plenty of room on this bed. Certainly enough room for one person and a dog. Actually, not my dog, but that's what I could find in the 3D warehouse. And possibly enough room for 2 people if you don't mind getting cozy. The bed itself is a little wider. It's wider than a twin, but not quite as wide as a full. But it's longer than a full. It's about as long as a king size bed, so it's got a lot of length to it. So plenty of room. Also, there's a nice gap here between the ottoman and the end of the bed to move in and out of the van. That's the step for the van right there. So plenty of room. And by the way, this is a cubby for dog related things like leashes and bags and maybe flip-flops and stuff like that. That all goes in there. Okay. I said I was going to try and move through this a little bit more quickly than normal, so that's what I'm trying to do. So let's go back to this mode, and I will rotate things back, slide back the bench into sitting mode, and let's look at the next thing that we're doing. So boy, the last video I spent a lot of time on this, way too much time. So I have other videos where I talk about this thing that we've done, which we call the power slide. But basically, it's a drawer that's attached to the bench bed. 28-inch heavy duty lock-in lock-out slides. Part of this drawer is storage. Part of it is electrical components, key electrical components. It's all going to be built on the bench and wired on the bench, which will make it so much easier. And then we just install it as part of this furniture and then lift it into the van, and then bolt it down in the van. So and then connect all the wiring. So it's to the rest of the wiring runs and the distribution that we have in the other furniture. So I spent a lot of time thinking about this, and I think it's going to work out just great. As part of this, there are 2 lids. There's 1, there's 2, and those lids create let's take them back. It creates a nice flat surface for cooking. So the design, this is meant to not only provide the storage and the electrical, easy access to electrical, but also an outdoor kitchen. So you can put the induction cooktop on here and cook, and there's going to be an outlet back here to plug that in. And by the way, it's all going to be gasketed with weather stripping so that it's essentially a watertight compartment below that. I'm not going to get into details of how we're going to do that, but there's been a lot of thinking that has gone into it. So let's slide that back. All right, so let's move on. Okay. So really sort of the big thing and big expensive thing that kind of makes this whole van work is our field van pop top, motorized pop top that we're going to have done down in California. And it's going to take a while before we're ready to do this. Unfortunately, it's not something I can pull the trigger on really right away because it's just expensive. But this is going to provide extra headroom, lots of extra headroom. It's going to provide additional ventilation, lots of ventilation. And there'll be lighting that's built into it. And as part of putting in the pop top, there will be sort of a flat soffit, I guess is the best way to describe it, or flange that goes around the opening for this. So essentially the roof of the pretty much the majority of the roof of the van goes away, and it's replaced by the structure of the pop top. That flange around the pop top is a nice place to mount things to, and I'll talk about that a little bit later, but yeah. So, but we can't do anything with the walls, and we can't do anything with full height cabinets until that's in, because we don't know exactly what our limitations will be. I have a pretty good idea, but I don't know exactly. So once we get that in, then we can start doing things related to the walls and whatever. But what we can do is we can insulate. So the walls will all be insulated with, like I said, we're probably going to spray with lizard skin, and then we're going to put the Thinsulate in there. It's going to be a really well insulated van. But the next thing we'll do after that is a couple things on the walls in preparation for the wall panels and the furniture. So in preparation for the wall panels, we'll have this special gang of anodized U-channel, aluminum U-channel, that it's actually a gang of three separate U-channels that is going to kind of capture the bottom edge of the top wall panels and the top edge of the bottom wall panels. And I think that's going to be really nice. It's going to reduce the number of screws that we're going to need or have visible. Underneath that is going to be some unistrut. And the unistrut is just there to mount the furniture to the walls. And there's two pieces that are mounting to the walls, the galley module and the full height cabinet module. They'll also be bolted to the floor of the van as well. So we're doing both. And then after that, we'll actually put the walls in. Now, we're also going to put a serial window in here on the driver's side. Not sure what the timing of that will be, but it will be before we put these wall panels in. I just don't know exactly what the time will be, but it will go in beforehand, because we really can't do anything in terms of finishing out this panel until the trim around this window until that window is in place. The window has to be in place first. So the window will go in first, then we'll put in these wall panels. And because the furniture hides quite a bit of this wall, we don't need wall panels down here. So we're probably just going to leave this open, and we'll just make sure that the insulation is really well adhered to the wall, so it's not going to go anywhere. So I don't need wall panels to hold insulation in place. And the wall panels themselves have no insulation capabilities, so it's not, you're not losing anything by not having wall panels down here. So we'll have one low panel behind the refrigerator and two wall panels above, and like I said, they're going to be fit into these openings in the U-channels. And these wall panels are going to be 1/4-inch Baltic birch with 1/8-inch Landau foam with either a Marathon tweed or a Duramax fabric. I'm not sure. Possibly two different colors, but probably not too dissimilar from the color palette that you're looking at right now. Next thing is the galley. And the galley unit will have a control panel. I'm not going to go into the details of that, but it's going to, from a sitting position, you're going to be able to, in one place, control everything without actually getting up and moving around the van, which will be really, really nice. A $19 water tank, water pump, accumulator tank, small one, and at this time we'll do the plumbing fixture penetrations in the exterior skin of the van. There'll be two Aqua hydrants, one for filling the water tank and one for one for draining the water tank, but it'll also be a hose that we can use for spray down and stuff like that from the side of the van. And also the water tank vent will be located at that time. But the other thing that we'll be doing in addition to the galley will be this thing that we're calling the pivot table. The pivot table is going to be made up of 1.5-inch stainless steel, bent. We previously were thinking it was going to be aluminum, but we got talked into stainless steel, and we think that's the right solution, just because we know we've got some really elegant ways to attach it to the 3/4-inch bamboo table, so that table will be able to pivot. We can also there'll be a set screw that will be able to tighten it so we can keep it from pivoting if we want to. And then at the base will be something that the leg can slip into. There's a little sleeve here to kind of take up the gap. And then there'll be a thumb screw, 8mm thumb screw that will tighten it down and keep it kind of locked in place. And there'll be two of these. So there'll be one base here, and there'll be another one at the front of the fridge riser. And that's important because we need to, when we're opening up the bed, like I said, do this. You can see that it kind of comes across where the pipe is, where the leg is for the pivot table. So we need to move that leg in order to allow this bed to kind of be able to be pulled out. So let's pull that back. So that just relocates to another position. Also, it's good if you want to use the table while you're sitting in the front seats, rotate it around facing the back. So that'll be nice too. Okay, moving on. Spent a lot of time talking about the galley, trust me. All right, so the next big kahuna is the full height cabinet, which is going to have a hanging locker, a 3-shelf storage area with a tambour door to close it off, and an open sort of cubby space, which we think is going to be great for soft items like pillows and comforters and sleeping bags, and all sorts of puffy stuff can go right in there and squeeze in there and be held in place just by friction. The bottom panels for these openings, for these storage areas, will be removable, so you can get at all the stuff that's happening under here. And there's a lot of stuff happening under here. Not the stuff you can't see is, well, you can partially see the hot water heater. It's going to be over here. But what you also can't see is you can't see the air compressor that's going to be located below there. There's DC distribution. It's part of the electrical system. There is a subwoofer that's going to be part of the audio system that's going down there. So there's a lot of stuff happening under here, and you really need to be able to have access to it, just in case. So that's why those panels are removable. There is a waterproof cover AC outlet, waterproof because we're going to have an outdoor shower, and there's going to be a little holder if the shower wound up there. The controls are on the other side of that AC outlet. As I said before, there is a hot water heater, 4-gallon hot water heater. It's a Bosch unit. It is 110 volts, so it needs an outlet. We're going to use kind of a smart outlet with a remote control down here, so we can turn it on and off remotely without having to, try and reach in there and try and unplug it. So there's an AC outlet buried in this furniture that you can't see. So that is the full height cabinet. And then sort of the last piece of furniture that we're going to be putting in is this upper cabinet, which is where all things related to coffee are going to go and other things related to cooking. And then we also have these speaker pods, which are really meant for a wakeboarding boat. They're on swivels. They can be swiveled, and we're going to put 5.25-inch kickers in there. So I think they're going to look cool. I really, and I mentioned this on previous videos, I really tried hard to find a surface mount speaker for 12-volt scenarios, and I just literally couldn't find one. So anyway, I'm really happy about this one. Okay, so another thing I can show is doors opening and closing in the upper cabinet and the hanging locker. And that's important because the next thing we're going to show is this, which is the bike. So I'm a cyclist. I really wanted a place where I could put my bike inside the van and store it in such a way that I can use everything else in the van except maybe this hanging locker and still be and still have a very workable space inside the van and not have to like take any of my furniture apart or have to worry about anything. So this will be a fork mount that's going to be mounted to the door. This is going to be a very good latch, so that's not going to come open. Just take the front wheel off, slip it into a bag, and then just put the bag on top of this bed just for storage. So kind of get it out of the way. Really easy. So, it's just, at some point down the road, we might have mountain bikes that we'll store outside and, have, one-ups and all that stuff. But just for me, and when I'm traveling with a bike, or doing bike-related events, I just wanted something where I can, because it's an expensive bike and I don't want to leave it outside. Okay, so that's that. Last thing I wanted to show is this. So thanks to the good folks in the Ford Transit forum, I was able to get access to a model of the shell of the Transit van, and I made some modifications of it to make it medium roof size. I also made the opening for the slider and a reasonable facsimile of the slider door, although it's not exact, but it's close enough. And I think the reason why I did this is I wanted to kind of give both myself and other people an idea of what it looks like, what the interior of the van looks like from the outside. And this is essentially just one big open space. There's really, the only piece of furniture that's in that opening is this little ottoman, and that's movable. You can even, if you're at camp, you can even take it out of the van and put it around camp, even with the porta potty in it, because the porta potty is not that heavy. So just have another seat around camp if you want to, and that would open up this slider completely. And as you can see, the when the bench bed is in bench mode, sitting mode, it's completely hidden behind that door. It's completely out of the way. And the other, one of the pot speakers is completely out of the way too. The other one is on the other side of the van, so that's not a big deal. So there's really nothing in this space which is kind of a hindrance to getting in and out of the van. So there's no galleys, there's no furniture sticking out into this that's occupying a big chunk of the opening. And I really wanted this because I really like, most of the design of this van, I'll be honest, is an homage to the Westie. And I spent a lot of time looking at the Westie design and think there's a lot of things that I like about it. And one of the things I really like about the Westie is that big open space and inviting space when the slider opens. There's just nothing in the way. And you can put things in the way if you want, but there's nothing that's built into the design of the van that kind of gets in your way. So anyway, that's our build phasing up to date, and for now, of course, it could change, but that's it for now. And oh my God, it's only 23 minutes, which is significantly shorter than the last time I recorded this. So anyway, appreciate any comments or questions. I'm happy to address them, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks very much.